Malik Johnson had always believed that hard work spoke louder than words. At 27, he was no stranger to long shifts and heavy labor. Raised in the heart of a small southern town, Malik carried with him the values his late mother had instilled: patience, perseverance, and pride in doing things right the first time. When a new factory opened on the edge of town, he saw it as an opportunity to finally build a stable future for himself and his younger sister, Tasha, who was finishing high school. The company, Harlan Manufacturing, was owned by a man named Richard Harlan, but everyone simply called him Rick. Rick was known for his sharp tongue and even sharper business practices. People said he could squeeze $1 until the eagle screamed. Malik didn't know much about him, only that he was hiring, and the pay, at least on paper, was better than anything else in town. Malik showed up early for the interview, wearing his only pressed shirt and slacks. The office smelled faintly of stale coffee, and behind the desk sat Rick, a man in his late 50s with slicked back hair and a permanent smirk. He didn't stand when Malik walked in, didn't offer a handshake. His eyes traveled Malik up and down as though sizing up a piece of equipment instead of a human being. "You're Johnson?" Rick asked, his tone sharp. "Yes, sir, Malik Johnson," Malik said politely. Rick leaned back in his chair, folding his arms. "You look strong enough. We need bodies who can keep up with the pace. Long hours. Not everyone can handle it. You think you can?" "Yes, sir," Malik replied, though something about the way Rick said bodies unsettled him. The interview didn't last more than 10 minutes. Rick didn't ask about Malik's skills, just whether he could lift heavy loads and work weekends. At the end, Rick scribbled something on a notepad and said, "Report Monday, 6 a.m. Don't be late." Malik left with mixed feelings. Grateful for the chance, uneasy about the man he'd be working for. But he pushed those doubts aside. He needed this job. From day one, the workload was grueling. Malik and the other laborers moved steel parts, ran machines, and loaded shipments under sweltering conditions. Most workers were given gloves and protective gear. Malik noticed he wasn't. When he asked about it, Rick barked, "Gloves cost money. If you can't handle it, you're in the wrong place." Still, Malik persevered. His hands blistered, but he didn't complain. He came in early, stayed late, and quickly proved he was one of the fastest, most reliable workers on the floor. The others noticed, too. An older man named Jorge pulled him aside one evening and said, "You work harder than anyone here. Don't let Harlan take advantage of you." Malik smiled wearily. "I just want to do my job and take care of my sister." Jorge shook his head. "You'll see. Harlan doesn't care about us. To him, we're just tools." The favoritism was impossible to ignore. White employees who started after Malik were promoted to easier, higher-paying roles. Malik was passed over time and again, stuck with the heaviest loads and the dirtiest assignments. When he asked about advancement, Rick laughed in his face. "You, a supervisor? Don't kid yourself," Rick sneered. "We need guys like you where the muscle is." The words stung, but what cut deeper was the way Rick said, "guys like you." Malik knew exactly what he meant. The other black employees felt it too. They were all kept at the bottom, while less qualified white workers rose quickly. Then came the paychecks. Malik compared his pay stub with that of another worker who had less experience but lighter duties. To his shock, the man was making $3 more an hour. Malik double-checked the numbers, convinced it had to be a mistake. When he went to payroll, the clerk looked nervous and said, "That's what's on the system. If you've got an issue, take it up with Mr. Harlan." When Malik did, Rick leaned across his desk and snarled, "Don't start whining about money. Be grateful you even have a job. Plenty of folks out there would kill for your spot." Malik walked out of that office with anger burning in his chest. He needed the job, but something inside him shifted. He realized Jorge had been right. Rick saw him as expendable, nothing more. As weeks turned into months, Rick's behavior grew worse. He mocked Malik openly in front of others, calling him "boy," and cracking racist jokes that drew nervous laughter from some employees. Malik swallowed his pride. reminding himself he had bills to pay and a sister depending on him. But the breaking point came one Friday evening. Malik had just finished a 12-hour shift when Rick stormed onto the floor. "Johnson, we got a shipment running late. You're staying. Work it till it's done." Malik, exhausted, replied, "Sir, I've been here since before dawn. Can't someone else?" Rick cut him off with a glare. "You don't get to tell me what you can or can't do. You'll stay until I say otherwise. You got that?" The entire factory floor went silent. Workers exchanged uneasy glances. Malik felt the weight of humiliation crush down on him, but he nodded. "Yes, sir." By midnight, his muscles screamed with pain. He stumbled home barely able to lift his arms. Tasha, waiting up for him, gasped when she saw the raw blisters on his hands. "Malik, this isn't right," she said, her voice trembling. "You can't keep letting him treat you like this." He tried to smile. "It's just work, Tosh. I'll be fine." But deep down, Malik knew something had to change. The very next week, Jorge approached him quietly during lunch. "You ever think about keeping records? Writing down the hours, the pay differences, the way he talks to you?" Malik frowned. "What good would that do?" Jorge lowered his voice. "It's evidence. One day, you might need it." That night, Malik sat at his kitchen table with a notebook. He wrote down everything: dates, hours, pay discrepancies, every racist comment, every order that forced him beyond safe limits. For the first time, he felt a flicker of control. Maybe, just maybe, there was a way to fight back. And though he didn't know it yet, those notes would become the weapon that would one day bring Rick Harlan to his knees. Malik's notebook began filling quickly. Each entry was a memory carved deep into his pride, a paycheck that didn't add up, a task no one else was forced to do, or one of Rick's cruel remarks. He kept the notebook hidden under his mattress at home, away from curious eyes. At work, Malik became quieter, more observant. Instead of reacting to Rick's taunts, he simply nodded, his mind ticking like a clock. He noticed patterns. Rick would always assign the hardest shifts to Malik and the other black workers, while younger white employees got cushy desk tasks or machine operator positions. One day, Rick announced a mandatory weekend shift. Most employees groaned, but Malik felt his blood boil when he realized only certain names were on the list, his included. When Malik politely asked if the schedule could be rotated, Rick sneered, "This isn't a democracy. You do what I tell you, or there's the door." Malik clenched his fists but forced a calm tone. "Yes, sir." The summer heat bore down hard on the factory floor. The machines roared, the air thick with smoke and sweat. One afternoon, Malik was ordered to lift and carry stacks of steel parts that clearly required 2 people. When he asked for assistance, Rick barked across the floor. "What's the matter, Johnson? Too weak? Thought you people were supposed to be strong." The words hit Malik like a slap, but he stayed silent, lifting until his muscles burned. That night, his back ached so badly he could hardly sit. 2 weeks later, Malik collapsed at work. His legs gave out under a heavy load, and he fell hard against the concrete floor. The room spun, and he heard Jorge's panicked voice calling for help. Rick arrived moments later, his face twisted with irritation instead of concern. "Get up, Johnson. You're fine," Rick snapped. "Don't waste company time lying around." Malik, struggling to breathe, whispered, I think something's wrong." Rick rolled his eyes. "You want me to dock your pay for this little performance? Get back to work." The other workers stared in disbelief. Sam helped Malik to his feet, glaring at Rick. "He needs a doctor, Mr. Harlan. Look at him." But Rick's only response was to turn his back and walk away. That night, Malik lay awake in pain, anger coursing through him. His notebook came out again. He wrote down every word, every detail. His notes were no longer just observations. They were evidence of cruelty. The final straw came during a staff meeting. Rick stood before the group, barking orders as usual. When Malik asked a reasonable question about safety procedures, Rick's face twisted into a cruel grin. "Look at Johnson here, pretending he can read the manual," Rick said loudly. "Don't strain yourself, boy. Just stick to lifting things. Thinking's not really your department." Laughter erupted from a few nervous employees. Malik's cheeks burned, his hands trembling with rage. But he didn't yell, didn't storm out. Instead, he met Rick's eyes and held his gaze, calm and unflinching. For the first time, Rick looked unsettled. That night, Malik's notebook entry was different. He didn't just record the humiliation. He wrote a vow. "This ends soon. I will not let him win." One evening, while Malik was leaving the factory, he crossed paths with a woman struggling to carry files to her car. He rushed over to help. She introduced herself as Rachel Porter, a local attorney who specialized in labor law. "You work at Harlan Manufacturing?" she asked, surprised. "Yes, ma'am." Her expression darkened. "I've heard stories about that place. Heard about him. Have you experienced issues?" Malik hesitated, then finally said, "More than I can count." Rachel handed him her card. "If you're ever ready to talk, call me. Men like Harlan think they're untouchable. They're not." That night, Malik sat at the kitchen table staring at Rachel's card. His hands shook as he dialed the number. "Rachel Porter's office," came the voice on the other end. "This is Malik Johnson," he said softly. I think I'm ready to fight back." Rachel listened intently as Malik laid out months of experiences. Wage disparities, unsafe orders, the racist taunts, the collapse on the job. He pulled the worn notebook from his bag and placed it on her desk. Rachel flipped through the pages, her eyes narrowing with each entry. "This," she said firmly, "is gold. Most people don't document this thoroughly. You've built a timeline. You've shown a pattern. Combined with witnesses and pay records, Malik, we have a very strong case." Together, they filed an EEOC complaint. Within weeks, Rick found out. He stormed onto the factory floor, red-faced, and shouted, "Which one of you cowards dragged my name through the mud?" His eyes locked on Malik. "Johnson. Figures. You think you can take me down? You're nothing. You'll regret this." Malik finally met his gaze, his voice steady. "I'm not afraid of you anymore, Rick." Months later, the case reached federal court. Malik sat at the plaintiff's table beside Rachel, his palms damp but his back straight. Across from him, Rick sat with his expensive attorney, a smug man in a tailored suit. The judge, an older black woman named Judge Daniels, presided with sharp authority. Rachel opened powerfully. "This is a case about exploitation, racism, and abuse of power. My client, Malik Johnson, gave his all to Harlan Manufacturing, but instead of fair treatment, he was humiliated, underpaid, and endangered simply because of the color of his skin. Today, we will prove that no employer, no matter how powerful, stands above the law." Witness after witness testified. Jorge, Sam, others. They confirmed Malik's story, showed the pay disparities, described the racist remarks. Malik's notebook sealed it all, each entry a dagger of truth. Rick, when he took the stand, tried to brush it off. "I treat all my workers the same. Johnson just couldn't keep up. He's playing the race card because he wants money." Rachel pressed him. "So, in your mind, calling a grown black man boy is harmless?" Rick scoffed. "It's just a figure of speech." The jury shifted uncomfortably. His arrogance spoke louder than anything else. The jury returned its verdict after 3 tense hours. Malik had won. They awarded him $750,000 in compensatory damages and $2 million in punitive damages. Rick exploded, shouting, "This is outrageous!" Judge Daniel silenced him with her gavel. "The jury has spoken." Reporters swarmed outside. Rick shoved through them, disgraced, while Malik stood tall with his sister and Rachel at his side. Within months, Harlan Manufacturing collapsed under lawsuits and lost contracts. Rick's empire crumbled, his wealth gone, his reputation destroyed. Karma had struck hard. For Malik, the settlement meant security. He bought a home, funded Tasha's education, and started his own small logistics company, one that treated workers with dignity. Years later, when asked how he found the courage, Malik always said, "I was tired of being silent. Silence is where injustice lives. The day I chose to speak up was the day I became free." Rick Harlan thought he could exploit Malik Johnson forever, hiding behind power and arrogance. But in the end, his cruelty was his undoing. Malik's courage, patience, and quiet determination turned the tables. The racist boss lost everything. The worker he tried to crush rose higher than ever, because sometimes karma doesn't just knock, it roars.